Greetings. My name is Patricia Huston-Holm. I'm in the state of Ohio in the United States of America, and I've been to Uganda a lot of times, and I have been teaching students how to avoid plagiarism, both here in the United States and in Uganda. So I'm going to start out with an exercise that's very simple, and this, by the way, is part of an entire seminar sponsored by the School of Research and Postgraduate Studies at Uganda Christian University. So the simple anti-plagiarism strategy I'm going to start out with is to show you a visual and have you think about how you would put something like that in your own words. So I am wearing today a shirt that says Boda Boda. Now, if you're from Uganda or East Africa, you know what that means. But if you're from another country, you may not. And even if you do know what it means, you'll have a different perspective on it. Let me do a little shared screen here. So here are the words Boda Boda. And here is what a Boda Boda is. Now for me, when I look at this picture, I think it's dangerous. And I wonder why so many people are crammed onto one vehicle. If you're in Uganda, you think, well, that's how we do transportation. It's cheaper. It's a way of life. For me, however, I think of this gentleman on the left. His name is Silas, and he's a graduate of Uganda Christian University who lived in Ohio with my husband and I. And he was injured in Uganda in a Boda Boda accident, broke his leg. So I think it's dangerous. And you, however, have a different perspective, as you should. So I have 10 strategies to avoid plagiarism. One of them we just went through very simply, putting something visual in your own words. I'm going to go through some of the other strategies to fight plagiarism, and hopefully by the end of this session, you will feel more comfortable in understanding what plagiarism is and how to say something that is so uniquely you. A little bit about me. I was a journalist for many years, worked in communications for many years. I've taught at about 6 different universities and have authored several books. And yes, I'm a word person, and I've had words stolen from me. The very first example that I can recall was when I was a young reporter doing a follow-up story on a 13-year-old girl that was pictured years before in this photograph you see here on the slide, and it was known as the baby in the box in Vietnam during the war. So I wrote a story about her for a newspaper called the Springfield News and Sun, and that story was subsequently stolen by another person who put her name on my exact words for a magazine called Family Circle. A violation of one of the 10 commandments, the 8th of 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal. So learning outcomes, in addition to realizing that it's not acceptable through Christ to be stealing, including stealing words, the other learning outcomes for this session are going to be, you're going to understand the meaning of plagiarism, the negative consequences of committing it. You're going to learn about a word called annotation and how to do it, and synonyms, which you already know about, but how to do it better. And I'm going to share with you some online resources so you can check yourself for your own plagiarism. So plagiarism, the Latin word is interpreted as kidnapping. That means you take something that doesn't belong to you. There is global plagiarism, which is exact text without attribution, and patchwork, which is parts of text without attribution. And I won't get into the other two, but you can look at those later on the PowerPoint that's going to be in your online shell. So why should you not do it? A lot of reasons, but the main reasons that I've accentuated in dark text are it may result in your expulsion from college, and it may result from you losing a job. So let's talk a little bit about attribution and paraphrasing. Attribution is giving credit to somebody for their words. Paraphrasing is expressing meaning in different words. So this is an example of a background section of one of approximately 150 students I've worked with one-on-one on their dissertations at Uganda Christian University. So this is an example of her background section. The very beginning, you can see that there isn't really any attribution. If something is general knowledge, you can put it in your own words, that is paraphrasing, without attribution. But then the third paragraph that you look at, you will see that the very last sentence she gave attribution. So that is an important strategy to fighting plagiarism, putting something in your own words and giving proper attribution. So what's an annotation? That's a big word that just means three questions. What is it about? How might I use it in further research? And is the source timely and credible? And I'm going to show you how to do an annotation, fairly simple. So here's an example. In 2018, August 11th, I happened to be in Uganda, and there was an article in the New Vision newspaper with a story about sniffer dogs at the Entebbe airport. And what they were doing is they were sniffing out different luggage to determine if people were trying to smuggle tusks from elephants out of your country and into other countries. So was it timely? Yes. Was it credible? It's New Vision, which is one of the major news sources in Uganda, owned by the government, of course, but attributed to different wildlife organizations in the article. What is it about? I just mentioned that. And how might I use it? If I'm doing some kind of research about the problems with killing elephants in Uganda. I'm going to give you another example. Bibliography. At the end of your research paper, you're going to list all of your references, sources, bibliography. You're not going to list it like this, but why not, when you're doing your research, think about how you might use it. What is the article about? Why is the source credible? And how this connects to my research. So this particular instance is an article in the New York Times. It's about the cholera epidemic in Yemen. It is a credible source. If I'm doing something on contaminated water, I might want to include this in my research. So this is how to do an annotated bibliography. What about synonyms? You know, those are words that mean the same thing, and you've learned that in secondary, I'm sure. So when you look at this information on the left, all of the words in red are spelled out in other words on the right. So why can't you take something that someone else wrote and put it in other words using synonyms? A very good anti-plagiarism strategy. When I did my research for my master's degree, we didn't have online tools that you have now. So here are two that are available to you now for free. You can check your own plagiarism. The biggest issue are the pop-up boxes, but when you get something for free, sometimes you have annoyances like pop-up advertisements that you have to deal with. So I'm going to show you an example of how I took something that I wrote that was original and I ran it through smalltools.com to see if it was original, which I knew it was because I wrote it. So here's my original text submitted to Small Tools. This is what I wrote. It was an article about blue people in the state of Kentucky in the United States, and people that actually have blue skin. So I submitted this text to the online checker, and here's what came out. So they're saying that everything I wrote was unique, except Blue Lives Matter. Well, the one caution I would give you on this is that it actually was unique, but there's a manufacturer of clothing in the United States called Blue Lives Matter. And so they were kind of saying that that part of what I wrote was plagiarized, but really wasn't. So you can upload up to 1,000 words of your research at a time for free in these two online references that I gave you. So just to recap here, what we've gone through, attribution we talked about, which is going to be addressed in another one of the topics here in the seminar. Synonyms, putting something in your own words, online tools, and paraphrasing. And lastly, just to recap, having your own ideas, putting in your own words, just frankly makes it more authentic and more interesting. So with that, I wish you well, and I look forward to talking to you later in other topics during the seminar. God bless you and have a great day.